for the city of Monterey, June the 22nd, 2021 is ready to begin. And the first order of business is the city of Monterey, June the 22nd, 2020.
Here I am. Well, first, our chair, Mike Brassfield, does seem to be absent, so I will mark him absent. After that, Vice Chair Freeman.
Here.
Thank you. And Commissioner Dawson.
Here.
Commissioner Fletcher.
Here.
Commissioner Latassa.
Here.
Commissioner Milich.
Here.
And Commissioner Reed.
Here.
All right, so that is only Chair Brassfield absent, and if he does happen to pop in, I will have to interrupt and just let everyone know that he's here and what time he got here. So as first staff, we have myself, Recording Secretary Cleary, new Principal Planner Fernanda Roveri, we have Senior Planner Chris Schmidt, and we have Admin Assistant Sarah Zeal today. And that's
Congratulations, Fernanda.
I think everybody received the note that Sarah is returning to manage the senior center after this meeting. And so I want to say a word of thanks for being so clear and so friendly when you announce all of the call-in numbers. I really hope those people are paying attention, but it was well done. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's been wonderful to work with you all and get to know you. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you around still City Hall. I'll just be over right on Lighthouse and Dickman Avenue. So stop by and see me anytime.
Does this mean that the senior center is now officially reopened?
Not quite yet. We're getting there. So that'll be a big component. I was the recreation coordinator there. So I think the first step is just having me back there to start administratively getting staff trained, figuring out budgeting programs, all of that good stuff. So we're hopefully going to get on the road to that very soon, though.
It's an exciting time, the reopening.
It really is.
The first item on the meeting is the consent agenda. And before we do that, for people who are members of the public, I think it's important to know that there are two opportunities for members of the public to voice their opinion. One is public comments not on the agenda, and the second one is after every item is introduced, the public has an opportunity to say something about that item. So those are the two times that members of the public can talk. I know that there's been some confusion about that. Our consent agenda consists of the minutes. Let's start with the minutes. Would anybody like to just have a comment about the minutes?
I would just like to say I was not there for the May 25th meeting, so I am going to abstain from that vote.
All right. Any other comments about the minutes from, let's see. Keep going.
They were from May 25th.
May 25th. Any comments?
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Chair Freeman, Vice Chair Freeman, we need to allow the public the opportunity to tell us if they'd like to discuss any consent item.
You know, I need a new meeting procedures thing. I don't see that here. There's been a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
There's been a second. Are you saying that we need to offer an opportunity for public comment before the vote is taken?
On the minutes?
I'm reading the meeting procedures and it says on the open consent agenda, ask if any member of the commission or public would like to discuss a consent item.
Yeah, so you're gonna, so it's moving it from the consent agenda. So, but what the procedure is, you move it from the consent agenda to the regular agenda, and then you have a whole different procedure. You actually don't discuss it right then. You pull it, and then you discuss it after the very last item on the regular agenda.
Okay. Is there anybody, member of the commission or the public, who would like to move the consent agenda, but we haven't gotten to the other item on the consent agenda, the hotel. This is just the minutes. Anybody want to move the minutes off the consent agenda?
No.
No.
Okay. The second item,
Sorry, this might be a good time for Sarah to announce how people can call in and participate in the Zoom meeting. That can give them a chance to just log in, join the meeting before they have the opportunity to request these items to be pulled from consent.
okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy to go ahead and do that, just so the public is aware of how to participate in today's Planning Commission meeting. So members of the public are encouraged to join our meetings via Zoom Gov, which is a secure service that connects you with no lag time. This meeting is also streamed live on youtube.com/City of Monterey, where there's a 10-second delay, and Comcast channel 25, where there's up to a 90-second delay. If you'd like to provide public comment, please join the meeting in time using Zoom or by telephone, making sure to join in time to accommodate any of these delays. To join the Zoom meeting from a computer or phone, use the link or phone numbers listed on the agenda, posted at isearchmonterey.org. And since the meeting has started, you'll find the agenda under the recent tab. To join by phone, dial 833-568-8864, then enter the webinar ID, which for today's meeting is 161-990-8039. To provide a public comment, use the raise your hand button in Zoom at the bottom of the screen. And if you're providing public comment by phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute when called upon. Public commenters calling in by phone will be announced using the last 3 digits of their phone number, or if you're joining via computer, we're going to use the name typed into Zoom to announce you. Public commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak, and we ask that you please turn off any TV or computer speakers to, or if you're connected by phone, please turn off your computer or TV, as background noise can interfere with the broadcast. Public speakers will be called upon in order of hands raised, and the chair has designated a 3-minute time limit for today's meeting. So we ask that you please stay within your time limit. So with that being said, taking a look here at our attendees, I do not appear to see any hands raised at this time.
Okay, well, let's announce the second consent item, and then we can vote on the entire consent agenda, or minutes first, consent item second. Help me here.
I believe we can do either. Oh, go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, I would recommend, if everybody's okay, you do the entire consent agenda.
Okay, so let's hold that motion to approve the minutes, and let's go to the second item on the consent agenda, which was considered 2101 North Fremont Street, adoption of a mitigated negative declaration and approval of use permit to redevelop an existing 18-room hotel into a 42-room hotel. That item has been tabled. And so the question is there any member of the committee or the public that would like to move that item from the consent agenda to the regular agenda?
No.
I'm not so sure they can, because you can't,
Tabled.
yeah, you can't, if a table, you can't discuss a motion to table.
Thank you. All right, then if there are no comments, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I would amend my second to include that, if the maker of the motion will amend the initial motion to do
I'll
so.
amend my motion to include the hotel item.
And
So
I-
there's been a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any comments on the motion? All right, then let's take a roll call.
Definitely. And again, it seems Chair Brassfield is still absent. Vice Chair Freeman,
Yes,
Commissioner Dawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Latassa,
Yes.
Commissioner Milich,
Yes.
and Commissioner Reed.
Yes.
Are you abstaining from both?
No, sorry, need yes. So it's yes for the table, abstaining for the minutes.
Okay,
So the motion is unanimously approved with one abstention for the minutes of May the 25th. Right?
one absent.
yes, those are approved. I'm sorry, I'm just editing. There's a lot of changes. So I just want to clarify that it is okay that we have different votes for Commissioner Reed.
It's
Who are you
fine. We,
clarifying this with? Kim
we-
Cole?
yeah, we can clarify that in the minutes, Jennifer.
Okay. All right, thank you. And welcome to Kim. Welcome back. The next item on the agenda is public comments not on the agenda. If there's any member of the public who would like to speak up and talk about something that's not on the agenda, this is the moment.
Sure, I'll just take a brief moment to kind of re-summarize how members of the public can participate into this afternoon's meeting. So if you'd like to participate, we do encourage you to join the meeting via Zoom Gov, which is a secure government server. And if you'd like to go ahead and join the meeting via Zoom, you can use a computer or phone to do so. And you can find the link to the meeting at isearchmonterey.org. And again, our call-in number, if you're joining us over the phone, is 833-568-8864. And our webinar ID is 161-990-8039. And if you would like to provide a public comment at this time for items not on today's agenda, please use the raise your hand button in Zoom at the bottom of the screen. Or if you're calling in via phone today, please dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute when called upon. And looking at our attendees, it doesn't appear that I see any hands raised at this time.
Okay. Then let's open our first public appearance item, and that is consider 398 Fremont Street for a use permit to allow mobile food vending business Bobalicious and Bites to operate from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on private property. The applicant is NNG Barjesh Claire, and the owner is Gurdish Kumar, C2 zoning district, commercial general plan, land use designation, exempt from CEQA. And shall we start with a staff presentation? Oh, I see it's already up. Good.
My name is Fernanda. I'm the principal planner for the city of Monterey. And I will make a presentation. The project is a use permit for the mobile food vending vehicle Bobalicious and Bites to be located at 398 Fremont Street. The recommendation is to approve the use permit with conditions. And the project site again is 398 Fremont Street at the corner of Fremont and Abrego. And it currently contains an Exxon gas station and a convenience market with parking toward the back of the property, sharing the wall, at the back, sharing a wall with 724 Abrego Street. And the proposed location of the food truck is encircled here. The vehicle is called Bobalicious and Bites, and the applicant is requesting to operate at the private property at 398 Fremont Street from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And our city code currently allows long-term mobile food vending, or sorry, private property mobile food vending, but it only allows it up to 2 hours a day. And in order to sell for longer than 2 hours, the applicant is required to obtain a use permit. So that is the purpose of the item today, is to obtain that use permit to operate from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The applicant is providing one staff member to operate the food truck. And the menu consists of flavored boba drinks and boba ice cream, all served to go. There is a shared dumpster at the back of the property that will be shared between the food truck and the convenience market. And employees will use restrooms provided by the convenience market owner. The mobile food vending vehicle and applicant has obtained the required health department permit to operate and to sell food and drink, and the required City of Monterey business license. And this is a photo of the Bobalicious and Bites truck. And this is basically, it would be parked, it's already parked in its location, but it's not operating right now. And these are the use permit findings. So the proposed use meets all C2 zoning district land use regulations, in that all the food truck vending activity will be done within the vehicle and will not cause excessive noise or odors. And then customers will take their drinks and food to go. So it will not cause any problems with trash or littering. The second finding is that the use will not be detrimental to the city or public health or adjacent neighborhoods. And this use is supported by the general plan in that it is a commercial land use and a commercial establishment. The entire food vending operation will be confined to the subject private property, including the queuing of patrons. And again, garbage or materials dispensed from the vehicle will be disposed of properly at that shared dumpster on the site. And the last finding is that the proposed use will comply with any specific condition. And in the resolution, there were a number of conditions of approval, and I didn't list all of them because there were a lot of them, but basically they are the mobile food vending regulations in our city code. And so the applicant is required to abide by them. And they require the applicant to maintain the health permit and the business license throughout the life of the food truck operations, to dispose of any garbage properly, to keep all operations on the private property, and to maintain, and that the use permit can be opened if the food truck operations violate the permit conditions. And so again, staff recommends approval of the use permit with the conditions in the resolution. And that concludes my presentation. The applicant should be here. He said that he would attend the meeting. So if you have any questions for him, he should be available. And I'm also available for questions.
Why don't we start? Thank you, Fernanda. Why don't we start with questions for Fernanda about what she had to say?
I have a question. Fernanda, can you show me on the site where this truck is going to be located?
Okay. So it is so that the green circle,
Okay.
that's where it would, it's parked there already.
Now, I've seen it out at the corner, so it's not going to be allowed to park out at the corner anymore.
Oh, you mean the corner, which corner?
of Abrego and Fremont?
No, the location that the applicant identified was at the back of the property here.
And then does this truck stay on site or does it leave site every day or once a week, or is there any requirement for that?
There is no requirement for the truck to leave, because it is private property and the owner can allow the truck to remain, but the truck cannot operate, meaning it cannot sell past before 8 a.m. or after 8 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? And I have a question. You see the green circle, which is sort of where it is, but it's competing with 3 parking places. And this afternoon, where that looks like a black truck is at the first parking place. It does that, who controls those parking places? Because the location of the Bobalicious truck should be closer to Abrego Street, for business reasons.
Well, I'd like to let the applicant speak about that because the location that he identified was not at the corner of
Okay,
close to Abrego. It was
okay.
to the left of the parking spaces here.
Okay. Any other questions for Fernanda? Okay, well, let's move then to the applicant. If you would introduce yourself and if you have a presentation to make, this would be the time to do it. Fernanda, I think you have to
Hello?
take your presentation off. Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
Welcome.
Yeah. So I parked the truck over there because I also need the parking for the customers also. Yeah.
Okay.
And for the drinks, it doesn't take so long. It just take like a 4 or 5 minute hardly to make the drink. Customer come, they get the drink and they left.
So how many parking places do you have next to the food truck?
There is a 2 parking.
Okay.
Yeah. And there is a lot of space next to the truck too. If someone can, they guys can go around in the front of the gas station and they guys can park over there too.
Okay. Other questions for Mr. Claire?
My only question is this, and I'll wait till the presentation up to the public. So I'll wait till the public's done and then I'll.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Claire? Okay. If we'd like to open it for public comment, if there is somebody, a member of the public who would like to make a comment or ask a question, this would be the time to do it. Sarah, you want to lead that?
Absolutely. So again, just a friendly reminder for those that are watching today, if you would like to make a public comment, please go ahead and join our meeting via Zoom from a computer or phone. And if you're joining on the computer, you can find the link at isearchmonterey.org. And since the meeting has begun, you'll find the agenda under the recent tab. To join by telephone, please dial 833-568-8864, then enter the webinar ID, which is 161-990-8039. And to provide a public comment, you can use the raise your hand button in Zoom at the bottom of the screen. Or if you're providing public comment over the phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand and then *6 to unmute when called upon. And taking a look here, we do have a couple members of the public on the call, but I do not see any hands raised at this time.
Okay. All right, well, if there are no public comments, we'll close public comment and open it for commissioner comments and just start in. Okay, Mike.
I think we haven't given a chance for the applicant to present his side of the story.
Yeah,
All right.
he just talked really briefly about it. He answered some
If
questions.
he would like to, he doesn't have to.
All right, Mr. Clare, if you would like to make a brief presentation. I know you answered the question about the parking spaces. If there's something else you'd like to say, this would be a good time to do it.
So the thing is, ma'am, we are just selling like a boba drinks and a ice cream. Yes. So before that, we used to sell the food. So we didn't get a good response. So we just make a mind to sell the boba drinks and ice cream. And the kids, they love the boba drinks and ice cream. They come with their parents. They enjoy their drink, get ice cream. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
My only comment is, so I went to Google Earth and I can see it on Google Earth. And it is a slightly different location than that is presented on the map. And I think, so on Google Earth, so on the map that's attached as Exhibit A, it shows it's directly behind the building. So directly behind the gas station building. And on Google Earth, it is not directly behind the gas station. It is closer towards Abrego. And what I'm worried about for the applicant is if he's planning on parking there, that's where his application should be, and the exhibit should show it there, not where that green circle was, which is directly behind the gas station. So if you want to fix that, I suggest we fix amendment Exhibit A to the use permit or the permit. So that's, otherwise I think it's a general business. It seems like he's actually doing a good job, and I don't see a lot of trash or any congestion from there. I drive by that at least twice a day, and it seems like it's going well. So I don't have any problems with it. But again, I would like him to have the opportunity to adjust the location if that's really where he wants it to be.
Okay. Steve?
No, I'm fine. No questions.
Okay, Dan? Unmute.
No, I think this is pretty straightforward. I don't have any issues with it at all.
Terry?
No questions. I agree with the others.
Okay. I will make a couple of comments. One is, you didn't hear that. I didn't hear what the comment was. I have a couple of comments. One is, I've seen the green truck there, and it's a welcome relief not to see the dumpster and the trash bin as you're coming into town. The dumpster and the trash bin appear to have gotten legs and moved over closer to Denny's and behind the gas station building. So that's a good thing. But going back in time, this is an old location that we've talked about before at the ARC, where we asked the Chinese wall to please move the sign from the back of the building around to the front of the building over the entrance. This issue came up 4 years ago, or 2 years ago, and they still haven't moved the sign. So I think it would be a good idea to enforce that so that the Bobalicious truck has its own space. And so that's my comment. Anybody else for a comment? Okay.
I would just move to approve as submitted, according to the findings and that are in the resolution presented by the staff, with the opportunity for the applicant to shift the site from behind the gas station over to my guess it's the east, a little bit, so that it actually is where he has parked it in the past, or it is currently parked, at least according to Google.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right. So there's been a motion to approve with a recommendation to shift the site eastward so that it's more visible and in the spot where Mr. Claire wanted it. And there's been a second as well. Any discussion of the motion? All right. Then let's put it up for a vote. Jennifer?
Yes, and first I just want to clarify, are we shifting the truck or the trash enclosure or trash dumpster?
The truck.
The location of the trailer. It's
It's a
it's
trailer.
not really a truck, it's a trailer. So
Trailer, yeah. The bright green trailer.
I've got that then. That was the one piece I missed. So first, we will have Chair Brassfield, still absent. Vice Chair Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Latassa,
Yes.
Commissioner Milich,
Yes.
and Commissioner Reed.
I think you're muted.
yes, sorry.
Great. That motion passes with 6 votes.
Congratulations. Congratulations, your use permit is approved.
Thank you
I'm
so
sure-
much, ma'am. Thank you to give me an opportunity to chance to do something. Thank you so much.
I think you're gonna enjoy it when the students come back to MIAS.
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, we saw the event. We got the hostel ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
When the hostel gonna ready, there's a hostel constructed next to the building.
That's right, that's right.
I hope when the hostel will be ready, we're gonna get a more customer.
I'm sure you will, I'm sure you will. All right, well, let's
Hey,
move on to,
Madam Chair,
yes.
is there an appeal period on this?
Why, yes, there is, Terry. If there is any appeal to the project that's been approved, you have 10 days to submit it to the planning office. Thank you. Moving right on.
Sorry, can I interrupt again? I just noticed I did not catch the second on that motion either.
I think it was Mr. Fletcher, Mr. Dan Fletcher.
Then
Yeah.
I did catch it. Carry on.
Okay. Our next agenda item, number 5, is consider 1245 10th Street, a use permit for a personal improvement service use, sweet, heat, hot yoga, and to reduce the off-street parking requirement from 35 parking spaces to 4. The applicant is Leslie Gallo. The owner is Jay Rowland. Community commercial district with development control, emergency shelter overlays, commercial land use designation. It is exempt from CEQA per Article 19, et cetera. Let's begin with a staff presentation.
Thank you, Vice Chair. My name is Chris Schmidt. I'm a senior associate planner for the city, and I've been working with the applicant and their leasing company on this project. So yes, it's a proposed personal improvement service, which is a yoga studio called Sweet Heat Hot Yoga, and a reduction in required parking from 35 to 4 spaces. So the staff recommendation is to approve the use permit with one additional condition that was not included in your packet based on a public comment, which staff agrees with. Just some background information about the site. It is, as the Vice Chair said, it's zoned C2 D2ES, which is our community commercial district with the development control overlay and emergency shelter overlay. Has a general plan designation of commercial. And it contains an existing about 3,500 square foot commercial building. And as I mentioned, kind of at least alluded to in the title, the site only contains 4 off-street parking spaces. So the project description is for a yoga studio, which provides both regular and hot yoga. Hot yoga is referred to as Bikram yoga within 2 rooms, and I'll show a floor plan on the following slide. Here we see the hours of operation Monday through Friday from 7:15 a.m. to, there's a mistake there, 11:30 a.m. And then from 11:30 p.m. to, 3:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then those peak hours listed below from 7:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. A lot of a.m. p.m.s to confuse myself. And then we also see the Saturday, Sunday hours, 7:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. is what it should say. And then 2:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. peak hours from 7:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. As I mentioned, there are 2 instruction rooms. And if you'd like me to refer back to those confusing hours and clarify, I'm more than happy to. But they are also listed in your staff report. So the business will have up to 3 staff members during the peak hours, 2 to 3 during peak, and 1 to 2 during the normal hours. And then 15 to 20 students during normal hours, and up to 30 during the peak hours. And the classes are offset. So say, a class begins at 7:30 and may end at 8:30. Another class may begin, at around 8:15. So they still going to have some of those students kind of overlapping, but generally, as some come in, others will be leaving shortly thereafter. So you see the floor plan here. On the top is studio number 1, which is obviously the larger room, has a capacity of 20 students plus the 1 instructor. And then studio 2 is the lower room with a capacity of 10 students plus 1 instructor. So what you're also being asked for approval here is a reduction in parking. I pointed in this image, you can see where those parking spaces are. They're at the rear. The applicant intends to have those only for employee parking, and that was what we actually had a public comment from a neighbor who lives across the street who recommended a condition that only those spaces be used for staff, which was the intent of the applicant, and we discussed that. So the applicant agrees that she's happy to put up a sign that ensures that it's only for employees. Now, in order to approve a parking reduction, the city code does, the zoning ordinance does allow the planning commission or really a use permit approval to approve a reduction. And I have seen this been done before for actually a yoga studio on Webster. I believe it was approved by then our zoning administrator several years ago. I found it in our records. But here are the findings that allow this reduction. So A, the parking demand will be less than the requirement in Schedule A or B. Schedule A or B is basically the so many parking per square foot or per seat or whatever the youth parking requirement is. Finding letter B is the followable long-term occupancy of the building or structure based on its design will not generate additional parking demand. So B or C are those part of those findings. C is there significant public parking within a reasonable distance that has been provided or will be provided within a reasonable time. So working with the applicant, we discussed that the both of the studios would have fewer students than the actual parking requirement for each room. As we mentioned, the capacity is 20 students for room 1 and 10 students for room 2. The requirement for the code is 24 spaces for studio 1 and 11 spaces for studio 2. And as I mentioned, the instructors park on site. And then there's also no loading space requirement as required by Schedule B of this section of the city code. This finding, so the staff discussed this with the applicant and kind of just decided that the floor plan is really the only reason that this finding could be made. Is specifically designed for a yoga studio use. The applicant doesn't intend to have any other use such as events or anything that would bring other parking demand into the area. So I think the C finding is probably the stronger finding of the two, B and C. Now the applicant prepared a parking survey with guidance from staff, surveying the highlighted streets you see at the right, 7th through 10th Street, Park Avenue, Ocean Avenue, and Sloat Avenue. And she actually provided these very helpful tables or charts rather that show what that parking demand is throughout the week. And they kind of, for all spaces in the surveyed area, bounce between somewhere around 30 to maybe 45 or so occupied. So the bottom green part is occupied and the top part is vacant. More importantly, since I think a lot of our customers will be there for, you know, hour-long classes and probably are going to want to avoid getting a ticket, she also surveyed the 2-hour spaces, and you know, most of the parking she will be directing her students to 10th Street, as it's not in the residential neighborhood that's north of the project site. So a lot of that parking is on 10th Street, but as for the 2-hour spaces, it's generally kind of between the 10% and 40% range, with the peak kind of on Thursdays and Fridays of around 40%. So there's still quite a few. That's 81 total spaces. So that's, you know, still quite a few spaces just for customers and people who are going to other businesses or visiting the residential neighborhood nearby. Staff wanted to really take her data, the applicant's data, and focus on just 10th Street. So I prepared this this chart here that shows just the spaces on 10th Street. There are 71 total. And you know, I came to the conclusion that even on the peak of Tuesday, where 60% or so of the spaces are occupied, that still leaves 28 spaces, again, at the peak, where she's only going to have a maximum of 20, you know, maybe offsetting 30 total people on site at any given time. And also, it's also worth mentioning, you know, anecdotally, I've driven to this area a dozen times since we got this application, and there's always quite a bit of parking. There's also quite a bit of parking on Sloat Avenue, across the street from the residential neighborhood. I think there's a lot of 2-hour parking that I literally did not see a car parked there anytime that I drove over there. And that's a personal anecdote from my life living in Monterey forever. So moving on. So just a summary. So of the 298 spaces surveyed, about approximately 35 to 45% are occupied during the regular hours. Of the 81 2-hour spaces, around 10 to 37% spaces were occupied during regular hours, and 10 to 20% during the peak. So that leaves, you know, anywhere from 50 to about 60 vacant spaces, just 2-hour spaces alone. And you know, a lot of these spaces, you know, 2-hour spaces may be a bit of a walk away, but I think these folks are coming for fitness classes. So, you know, a quarter mile, you know, 5-minute walk is not so bad. And the 10th Street is directly adjacent to that commercial district. As I mentioned, has 71 total spaces, 43 occupied during the max peak, 28 unoccupied on that 10 a.m. on Tuesday. So staff has found that the survey has shown adequate off-street parking. So moving on to the conditional use permit findings. I think the commission is fairly familiar with these, so I'll briefly go over them, but it generally has to do with protecting the public health, safety, and general welfare of the city, implementing the general plan policies, and ensuring that the intent of the zoning ordinance is being followed. So staff has found that the use is allowed by a use permit. The parking reduction is acceptable. The applicant is not proposing and has stated that there will not be any sort of loud music that would be heard, maybe some light music in the lobby, which is on the south side near 10th Street. So staff has not found that the project is inconsistent with the zoning ordinance intent or will damage public health, safety, or welfare. Again, the next finding is consistency with the general plan. There's a economic element element program that states that the city should encourage small businesses and locally owned business. Sweet Heat Hot Yoga was previously a business in Pacific Grove for I think the last 10 or so years, over on Central Avenue, I believe, and they've chosen to move into Monterey, I think, after the pandemic, and I think staff is willing to support based on all of this evidence. Next, the use will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare of residents or nearby workers, nearby properties or improvements, and the general welfare of the city. There's adequate on and off street parking. Students will be directed to park on 10th Street. As I mentioned, there's no noise that would cause a nuisance, nothing like smells or anything like that either. And then last finding is that the use will comply with any specific condition required. This condition, as I mentioned, was suggested by a residential neighbor. And I agree, it's that the applicant shall designate the 4 off-street parking spaces on 9th Street for employee parking only and shall place signage. And staff is supportive of this condition and recommends the planning commission adopt. So lastly, yes, staff recommends to approve the use permit. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Any questions for Chris?
Yes, Madam Chair, I have a few questions. Thanks, Chris. This parking data that was provided is, normally when we see this kind of parking data, it's provided by a traffic engineer, and there's sort of this rigorous standard that is applied. I don't doubt any of it. It's all, anecdotally to me, I have the same impression that you do, and I'm sure it's all true. But the parking data is so specific, 35%, all that sort of stuff. Was this somebody sitting there on their car counting empty spaces, or was this let's say this was a more controversial thing with angry neighbors? How would you qualify that this is a good data that we're being given here?
A good question. Well, first, I'll probably refer to the applicant to make a statement on this, but I'll first start with, we gave specific instruction. I teamed up with Fernanda and Kim to make sure that we gave specific instruction on how this type of study should be done. So we gave an example of one that I thought was very well done in the city of Berkeley, but essentially we directed the applicant to make sure that her and likely her team of instructors would go at the beginning of each hour for like the first 15 minutes of each hour and look at both sides of the street and count each side individually and meticulously look at each side. And I'm sure they spent an entire week doing it. Now, can I verify that they were there? I didn't go watch them do it. But like I said, from anecdote, I would trust that it's fairly accurate, but I'll refer to the applicant.
Well, I find it all very persuasive, and it's really very professionally done. But my concern is, what about the next applicant that comes in that says, hey, you let those guys do their own, the applicant is providing this data rather than typically a traffic engineer is I'm not suggesting that we make them get a traffic engineer. I'm just curious about the process, and that there's this sort of anecdotal process going on that's different from the typical engineering rigor.
So Commissioner Latassa, this is Kim Cole. I think in this case, we just made a judgment call. Most of the time, obviously on more complex projects, for the new hotels, new structures, new buildings, we get formal traffic reports prepared by licensed traffic engineers. In this case, it seemed to be a very small change of use with potentially, a small business. And we were hoping to get the data that we wanted, but with less bureaucracy, and that was a judgment call I made. So that was
Okay.
my
Well, no,
call.
I think I agree. Like I said, I find it very persuasive. Whoever put it all together is, they're great charts, and it all looks very professional. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll add that, I think if staff felt that it was inadequate, we would have perhaps asked for more information or maybe be done professionally, but I think we're actually very impressed.
Okay.
Any other questions for Chris? All right. Hearing none. Is the applicant here? I thought I saw the applicant on the Hollywood Squares here.
I'm here.
Okay, would you like to make, oh, good. Hi.
Hi.
Introduce yourself and make a presentation.
My name is Leslie Gallo. I'm the owner of Sweet Heat Hot Yoga. I'd like to thank Kim and Chris for guiding me through this process. It was something that was completely brand new to me. So thank you both for your help on getting this done. I don't really have another presentation to make. I think all the drawings, the graphs, the photographs, the Google Earth, I think that all speaks for itself. If you have specific questions, I'd be happy to address them, but I don't have anything additional to provide. And as far as the parking survey goes, yeah, it is quite true that my husband and myself and a couple of friends were out every hour on the hour for 1 week. Yeah, counting spaces, and we were happy to do it. And we're honest dealers because we want our business to be successful. And without adequate parking, we cannot be successful. So I'm confident that our neighboring businesses will be satisfied, our customers will be satisfied, and it'll go quite smoothly. So thanks.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Gallo? All right. Thank you very much for your comments. Let's open this up now for public comment. If there's any member of the public who would like to say something, just follow Sarah's instructions.
Sure, thank you, Chair. So I will go ahead and just take a brief moment here to remind everyone how they can participate in this afternoon's meeting. If you'd like to make a public comment, please join the Zoom meeting from a computer or phone, and you can use the link or phone numbers listed on the agenda at isearchmonterey.org, and the agenda will be under the Recent tab. If you're joining us by telephone, please dial 833-568-8864, and then enter the webinar ID, which is 161-990-8039. To provide a public comment, please use the raise your hand button in Zoom at the bottom of the screen, or if you're providing public comment over the phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand and then *6 to unmute when called upon. And just taking a look here at our attendees, I do not see any hands raised at this time for public comment, but I can let you know if that changes.
And also for the record, there was a letter submitted by Mr. William Chopik, but that was a letter directly to the Planning Commission, which has already been incorporated into Chris's new condition for approval. If no public comments, then let's open this up to commissioner comments. Mike.
I have a couple of pretty small typos. Back at page 30 in staff response, it says the broad purposes of the R. I'm thinking that after the and before R, there ought to be zone. It's also repeated in the resolution, that same typo. And in fact, there's more. It says still in packet page 30, the purposed use will be required comply. And I'm thinking between required and comply, it ought to be 2. I'm surprised that Sandy didn't get that before me.
I didn't get it.
Oh, and Chair, I apologize for interrupting. It does look like we had a new attendee join and is raising their hand for public comment. I know we closed that out, but I wasn't sure if you wanted to revisit the comments.
Yes, I think we should reopen public comment. And, but I want to say that pay attention to what Mike Dawson had to say, because the typos can be easily corrected for the record. Anyway, a new public commenter.
Yes, so let me go ahead and then it looks like we have caller. The phone number is ending in 204. And if you could go ahead and please unmute and share your public comment with the Planning Commission. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
You're on with the Planning Commission if you'd like to share your public comment.
Yeah, good afternoon. Tom Raleigh. I'm sorry, it just takes time to all the numbers to get them all entered. It takes at least a minute and a half to plug them all in, and you cut us off kind of fast. Anyway, the number of exceptions you're creating, you know, only 4 parking places in the back. I noticed on the floor plan, there's no entry from the back for the employees. They have to go around, somehow get around to the front of the building. There's kind of a service entrance in the back. There's no way for customers to come in the back. The second is I'm not frequent, but infrequent customer of the sandwich shop that's in the next block. And the success of that sandwich shop is dependent on being able to pull in, get a place to park, pick up your order, and then leave. So the thing is, I just think that the other businesses are going to be impacted. And also I question whether all of the people that live and the owners, most of the houses, I believe, behind on 9th Street are rentals, were really contacted to see about the impact of the parking. And I think the planner is not very familiar with this neighborhood, you know, thinking people are going to park on Sloat. As someone who helped create the parking on Sloat many years ago through NCIP, I've got to tell you that that parking comes and goes, depends on what happens at Navy School. So sometimes it's very crowded, sometimes it's not. So I just offer these suggestions. The final suggestion is that you should put a review of this after 3 months and perhaps 6 months and then a year to see if the impact of the parking concession that you're granting this applicant. I'm not saying turn them down, but I think you need to build in a review of the parking that you're granting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Raleigh. All good comments. Will there be any other members of the public who'd like to comment? All right, then we'll close.
Oh, I was just saying, it doesn't appear we have any other hands raised at this time.
Okay, then we'll close public comment again and reopen commissioner comments. Steve?
I think it's a good idea. I'm thinking about the caller's comment, and it would seem to me that if in fact the parking turns out to be inadequate, that it will reflect in the attendance and the profitability of the school. So I really think that'll take care of itself.
Yeah. Terry?
Yeah, I was a little bit alarmed seeing a 35 space requirement and 4 spaces provided. But I think staff and the applicant have really persuaded me that that the parking situation will not be a problem there. So I'm in support of the project.
Okay. Mike?
I'm in support as well. I'm very sure that if parking becomes gridlocked over there, that we'll hear about it. And so, and that's, I guess that's part of the use permit, the parking, if the parking adequacy. If it is inadequate, then something's got to happen.
Okay. Dan?
I'm in support of the project as well. I think the parking situation will work itself out. It seems like there's enough to go around for now. So I'm in support.
Okay. Hanson?
I don't have anything else to say that it hasn't already been said. So I would move to approve the project as submitted with the findings that and comments that are in the resolution attached to the agenda packet. And Chris is just, and then stop that. The parking is already in this. I can't remember if it was already in this.
The condition.
The condition was already in there. The parking condition. I just wanted to double check.
It was not.
It was not. Okay, with the condition that the 4 spaces in the back are designated for employee parking and labeled for employee parking.
Yeah. Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to approve the project as stated with the condition that the 4 spaces in the back be part of the approval designated for employees only. Any comments other than that on the motion?
And signed.
Signed, yeah.
And also
Signed and
signed and
enforced.
used. Okay.
Yeah, signed and enforced. Any comments on the motion? All right, hearing none, let's take a roll call, a vote.
Do we have a second on that?
I seconded it.
Okay, got it. Okay. Just make
Sarah?
Thank you. We have Chair Brassfield still absent and Vice Chair Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Latassa,
Yes.
Commissioner Milich,
Yes.
and Commissioner Reed.
yes.
Great, that passes with 6 votes.
So this project has been unanimously approved. Congratulations, Ms. Gallo. I see you're still on screen, which is great. And the results of this vote the resolution may be appealed to the city council within 10 days. If anybody chooses to.
Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations.
I'm really excited. We're going to be a great asset to the neighborhood and to Monterey. So thank you all.
It's a very active area and there are people out all the time. I think it's a great spot for you.
Yeah, thank you. You're going to bring good vibrancy.
It will.
Yeah. All
Thank you,
right.
everyone.
All right.
Good luck.
Motions.
All right. The next item on the agenda is commission comments. Anybody want to say something?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so we got a couple of, I like this. This is a lot easier than the hand raising on the star sign. All right, Steve, let's hear it.
I just want to say that according to Kim and what we've got in our email, we're going to be going back to the council chamber soon. And I would just ask that at the time that happens, at our first meeting at the council chambers, we each be provided with a parking permit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
I never got my last one.
Me neither.
Yeah.
So valuable.
About time you got one.
Yeah.
That we all got one.
Yeah.
So Kim, take note, please.
They're already on my desk. I just never gave them to you because we got shut down with COVID. So I'm pretty sure they're still sitting there.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Mike?
I just I need to warn you all that I've been reappointed for 4 years. So sorry.
So happy.
Second, I just got back from Mexico from a very successful fishing trip with my daughter. It was lovely. Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Well, you're not alone. I got 4 years more too.
So did I. So did I.
Wow. Approval.
Oh,
The
dear.
select committee. Kim, you have a staff report?
Sure, I just want to highlight a couple things in the planning office update.
Yeah.
Really exciting. The city council's continuing to follow up on their proposal to enter into an exclusive negotiating agreement with a couple different low-income housing providers to look at 100% low-income housing projects at 417 Figueroa, 442 Adams, 438 Calle Principal, and then behind City Hall, where those little houses are on Van Buren Street. It's a long-term proposal in that the city will need to obtain exceptions to the cease and desist order, I believe, for water connections and credits. But in total, with those, the city sites, we're potentially looking at 150 low-income housing units, which would help us move towards meeting our regional housing needs obligations. So the council authorized that. We're also moving forward on the Laguna Grande Regional Park. We've reinvigorated the JPA, and there's been concerns about the vegetated area sort of at the very back of the park. So the city of the Seaside, the Park District, and Monterey are coming together to prepare an environmental document and strategy on how to maintain that area. The other thing that's interesting, and there's going to be a public meeting, I believe it's this Thursday, you might be interested in attending. Right now, the North Fremont Street bike trail sort of ends at Casanova Street. And the next phase of that, which we in the staff call the North Fremont Gap Closure Project, we have a design for it, and it would move towards, it's not possible to put it down the middle of the street. So it would move to the side of the street closer to Laguna Grande Park, and there would be a bridge constructed in order to, because there's actually a ravine as the water enters and goes under North Fremont Street into the park. So I believe there's a public meeting on that this Thursday. The city council heard a report on it on Tuesday and authorized the city of Monterey to become the lead agency for the environmental document for the bridge. Our goal as a city staff is to move that closer to being shovel ready. So have that design done, have the environmental document done, which will make us more eligible for grants locally. And the third piece of that is the 4-tag trail comes into the corner of Highway 218 and North Fremont there. So ultimately you should be able to ride down North Fremont Street, go by Laguna Grande Park. It'll make a right on Highway 218, sort of on the side, the shoulder, go down through Delray Oaks in an underpass towards the Frog Pond, and then out, I think that's General Jim Moore there, and connect all the way to MPC. So I know people have called that the bike trail to nowhere. I'll just say it's gonna go, we're trying to get it to connect. And the exciting part is the 4-tag trail has been funded, that piece, if our partners in Delray Oaks are willing and able to approve it. So really looking forward to connecting all the bike paths.
Yes, indeed.
We do have an appeal on 200 Glenwood Circle, the wireless facility that's been approved. That'll be heard by the council on July 6th.
Okay.
Similar issues to those raised on the last 2 or 3 appeals on similar wireless facilities. The last thing I want to mention is we are working to moving back into the council chambers. It may be as early as your first meeting in July, but depending on public noticing, it may be the second meeting. And we're trying to coordinate the Zoom meeting with the in-person function. And I think if you watched our council meeting at the, this past week, it took about 20 minutes. We were late getting started by about 20 minutes, just trying to coordinate those audio visual systems. So we're working on perfecting that, and then hopefully translating that to our other boards and commissions. So we really look forward to being back in council chambers with you. And there's a lot of staffing changes occurring right now because of the budget that was approved by the council last Tuesday. So you probably remember with COVID, there were 74 positions that were eliminated at the city. Several of those bumped employees in other divisions or openings. And we'll be losing Sarah Zeal back to the senior center. That's exciting because the senior center is opening and she's been a fantastic employee for us for 1.5 years. So we'll be losing Sarah and we'll be pursuing a recruitment to fill that position. So be patient with us as we move back through all these staffing changes and trying to hire people to reopen in a more normal fashion. So we're excited about that, and I hope you will be too.
I thought Jennifer was going to do everything.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
no.
is.
I had 2 extra arms and some more time.
I have a question. I know that I'm going to sound so dumb, but the follow-up on the city council meeting, appeal of the planning commission's decision to deny a request to remove 508 Del Monte Avenue from the historic context statement. And it says action, adopted resolution. So was the planning commission upheld or denied?
It was overturned. Your decision was overturned, which removed the property from the historic survey list. And I think the council had very similar findings to what the planning commission had most recently on the historic, I guess it was on Cortez Street, I think,
Yeah.
where we obtained a third independent historic analysis with the city leading that effort. So the council had a similar report. I actually think even one of the commissioners said, when you were looking at this, we would really like to have an independent analysis that the applicants at an arm's length. So we went ahead and did that. Actually, the applicant gave us money and we did that for 508 Del Monte and the 2 on Cortez Street.
So this means that 508 is still on the historic context statement.
No.
It's gone. Okay. Got it backwards. All right.
Kim, I have a question.
Mhm.
Your staff report or your comments talk about the council having this action on surplus lands. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a new state law that became effective, I think, January 1st of 2020. And basically, what we're seeing at the state, you probably are aware, the state of California has been adopting lots of laws to produce housing and it will increase housing supply. So one of the latest laws, actually it's existed for a while, but the amendment to the law, it's called the Surplus Lands Act. And the amendment requires that if a city is going to sell or lease a property, that you have to find it exempt per the Surplus Lands Act. And you actually have to send your findings to the state of California. And as part of that first action, you actually have to offer up the property first to housing developers. And there's a list on the state website of there's lots and lots of housing developers, and potentially even enter into negotiations to allow it for housing development. So what happened with this law, we weren't as aware of it as we should have been when we released the original request for proposals for the 100% affordable housing. The council was clear that that's what they wanted to do. And we thought we had to go back and reissue the RFP. And what the state of California was able to clarify for us is because we were pursuing a 100% affordable housing projects, that we didn't have to go through the formal exemption process for the Surplus Lands Act. So it was considered exempt to the Surplus Lands Act, and they helped us with the finding. So we will be sending our resolution to the state of California for their confirmation, although they helped us and sort of reviewed our earlier draft. So the other agenda item you may have recently seen on our council meeting is all our tidelands properties. We lease those regularly on the wharfs, and we did get an exemption from the state on that because they're held in trust for the state of California, and by a definition under this act are exempt. So as the city in the future leases properties you will see us have to work through this Surplus Lands Act issue.
Great, thank you.
One other question. We've talked several times about a subcommittee for sea level rise, because it's happening tomorrow, really.
Yeah.
2030.
So where I'm at with that, I'm poised. So we have staffing issues right now. I'll just be honest. We're meeting bare minimums. Is that as we increase our staffing resources over the summer, I'll be meeting with the city manager's office. And one of the things we're looking at is needing to update our safety element of our general plan. Some of the regulations regarding fire hazard zones, as well as looking at sea level rise, need to be addressed. And in that context, I was going to speak to him about how does the city want to approach this issue? Does the city council, are we going to create, obviously general plan amendments will go from planning commission to council. And then there's probably follow-ons from that. So that it might actually be worth it, Sandy, if you want to write a letter to Hans about the planning commission's interest, I think about forming a subcommittee, and then he can approach the city council about that issue. But even under law, we're going to have to be addressing that issue in more detail.
Okay, all right.
It's good ideas. I think this summer we'll be trying to move our advanced planning program forward again once we have everybody back.
Good. I know that Jennifer's happy to hear that. Can't do everything. Any other comments, staff or commissioners? Then the meeting's adjourned.